After some disappointing campaigns in 2021 and 2022, the Knicks bounced back and had a solid year in 2023. But again, they couldn't get the job done in the playoffs. And once the 2024 season started, it looked like New York only got worse as compared to last year, making Knicks fans fear that it was going to be a long and miserable campaign. Thankfully for them though, that's not the case. So let's talk about how OP the Knicks have become and how the NBA hasn't found an answer for them yet. Now the Knicks have had a great lineup since the start of the 2024 campaign, but despite that, they just couldn't get into a rhythm. They looked lost out there, and for a while, they seemed like nothing more than a mediocre team that their opponents wouldn't lose too much sleep over. Just look at how bad their first 5 games of the season were. They started off with a record of 2-3, and after their rough loss to the Cavs, New York had scored 13.1 fewer points per 100 possessions than they had last season, and that was the league's biggest drop in offensive efficiency across 5 games. A big part of why the Knicks struggled so much on offense was because of the fact that they were ranking last in effective field goal percentage with 46.9%. One of their star players, Julius Randle, was particularly terrible to start the season as his effective field goal percentage was at 32.9, which ranked last among 95 players with at least 50 field goal attempts. On top of that, their finishing in the paint was trash, with Mitchell Robinson kicking the campaign off with an embarrassing drop-off as he went from scoring 67.1% of the time last season to just 48%. Because of his struggles, the Knicks' field goal percentage in the paint was terrible across the first 5 games. But of course, Jaylen, Brunson, and Randle were struggling on the inside as well, as they were a combined 27 for 81, which is only good for 33.3% and 23% less than what they managed the year before. Another struggle for the Knicks was their lack of ball movement, as they were 26th in ball movement after the first game, averaging just 299 passes per 24 minutes of possession, while they were 25th in player movement, which made them one of 5 teams to be in the bottom 10 for both. And since these issues were there in 2023 as well, this wasn't a surprise either. Their 95-89 loss to the Cavs early in the season highlighted these issues pretty well, as the Knicks kept taking tough shots rather than making smart passes that would allow easier shots to be taken. As the season went on, the Knicks did have some positive moments, but all in all, things weren't looking too good, as they had a record of 17-5, 32 games into the season. Basically, everyone was struggling to be the best versions of themselves, especially RJ Barrett, as he had a particularly terrible slump in December 2023, when he shot 36.7% from the field and 20.8% from deep across a 6-game stretch. Eventually, the Knicks realized that they needed to make some changes, and on the 30th of December, they finally traded RJ in exchange for OG Anunoby. And ever since then, the Knicks have looked very scary. Since trading for OG, they have an insane record of 16-3, which included a huge win streak, and now they're currently sitting at 4th in the East. With Anunoby playing, New York boasts a record of 12-2, while they're 4-1 without him. So clearly, OG has made them way better thanks to his 15.6 points on fantastic efficiency. And of course, who can forget about his 1.8 steals and 1.1 blocks per game? But as I told you, they've been doing great even without him playing. So how are the Knicks so good all of a sudden? Well, aside from getting rid of RJ and replacing him with a much more efficient and valuable OG, the rest of their players are also just playing much better basketball as compared to the first 32 games of the season. Let's start with Jaylen Brunson, because he's been the star of the show in New York. Ever since 2023, he's been doing everything he possibly can to keep the Knicks on top, but as we all know, he struggled to do that at the start of this season. That said, he soon found his groove and he hasn't looked back ever since. Despite having some massive games during that 32-game stretch, he was also having some bad performances, so he wasn't that consistent. Either way, once he dropped 50 in the win against the Suns in December, it was clear as day that he meant business, and following that game, he's been having a lot of great performances, minus a few off nights here and there. Just look at his averages from January as he dropped 29 points and 7.7 assists while shooting 49.7% from the field and 37.6% from deep. Thanks to his heroic performances, the Knicks had a record of 13-1 in January when he played, and to start February, he's been a beast as well. Averaging 34.3 points across 3 games on 50% from the field. The Knicks have looked unbeatable thanks to him, and as I said, it's the whole team that's been firing on all cylinders. After improving his stats in December, Randle continued to look great in January as he averaged 25 points per game, along with 5.3 dimes and 8.3 boards, while his shooting splits were terrific, for the most part. But he's missed some games as of late, and so has OG, but somehow that hasn't stopped the Knicks from winning more games. And that's because their role players are out there performing like all-stars. For example, when New York was up against the Hornets towards the end of January, they didn't have Randle or Anunoby, but Donte, DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart showed up big time, with Donte dropping 28.6 and 5, and Hart putting up 8, 12, and 7. Then against the Jazz, everyone did a bit of everything, while Donte was the leading scorer for the Knicks. He dropped 33, 5, and 4, while shooting 9 for 15 from the deep. Yeah, you heard that right. And then Josh Hart dropped a triple-double as he posted 10, 10, and 10 along with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Besides them, Precious Achiuwa scored 18 and 5, while Isaiah Hartenstein had 14 and 12 along with 2 steals and 2 blocks. The story was the same in the next game against the Pacers, as everyone played their part and exceeded expectations once again, with the entire starting 5 stuffing the stat sheet. As for the Grizzlies game on the 6th of February, it was Donte, Josh, and Precious who showed up big time once again. DiVincenzo led the Knicks in scoring once more as he put up 32, 5, and 5 alongside 3 steals. At this point, it's clear that New York is looking scary, and it's safe to say that they're not playoff pretenders, but are genuinely playoff contenders. They haven't even had 2 of their best players for the past few games, yet they still look so OP and destroy their opponents. So just imagine what they're gonna look like in the postseason when they're at full strength and their chemistry gets even better. Teams are clearly struggling to find an answer for New York because they're steamrolling most teams with ease. And if the roster keeps up how they've been playing, then I can see that continuing well into the playoffs. And if they can do that, what's stopping them from making it to the finals and winning it all? Not much, in all honesty. The Knicks genuinely look better than ever, and so far, they look like the best Knicks team since 1973. So if I were a Knicks fan, I'd be super excited for what the future holds because it really feels like New York might just win a ring this season after all these years. Of course, that might not happen if Brunson's recent injury is super serious, but based on what we know, it shouldn't keep him out that long. That's a wrap. Make sure to subscribe for more NBA analysis videos. See you in the next one.